Once upon a gardening time, you'll be probably wondering how I ended up with soldier larvae right in my farm. Yeah, it came from this compost of these kitchen scraps. Composting is very essential for organic gardening. It is very different from mulching and other kinds of fertilizer application and even manuring. When I wanted to sprout 3 pineapples in raised beds, I first of all carried out manuring in the raised bed by burying some papaya scraps into the raised bed, and this ended up helping the pineapple to absorb some kind of food that aided the development of the roots, and this also improved the soil quality of the raised bed, which I later used to grow peppers last year. But when we talk about composting, it's a completely different thing. Composting takes much time than manuring, and the elements of both of this process are 100% organic. So for the breaking down of these items, it will be done by some bacteria, some smaller animals like earthworms and other kinds of worms that we all often see here, even maggots and black soldier fly larvae. And these are various items from my kitchen that I'm going to use to prepare the compost pile, but this time in sacks and containers. So the idea is to pour in all the kitchen scraps into a particular sack bag and to create enough surface area for those worms and those bacteria that you need to break down this compost. So some kind of compost, depending on the type of kitchen scrap that was used or organic material that was used, could take a long time, maybe 1 year or 2. But if you would love your compost to be ready in no time, I would recommend that you go with soft kind of materials like the mere kitchen scrap that you use. Materials like this pineapple crown will take longer time to be able to break down, and even these falling papaya leaves will also take longer time before they will be able to break down completely. Nevertheless, as they say, the patient dog gets the fattest bone. I would wait for the compost to be purely decayed to be able to use it for the use. So on a random day inspection of the garden, I decided to open the compost pile and check it, and to my amazement, I saw something that looked like maggots. These creatures have been feeding on the kitchen waste that we have been putting here, and they have also mutually helped us to break down some of the items and work on the food waste partially. So later I consulted Google Lens on what these were, and Google Lens was able to tell me that these were larvae of the black soldier fly. I've heard so much about BSF farming and the application in human life and also in livestock production, so I was happy to see them live in my compost pile. I can also vividly remember this stem of this papaya plant. I also put it into the compost bag, and those black soldier fly had already feasted on it, and the females were laying their egg into the cells in the tree bark. So apparently there were eggs in each part of bark remain. So further research made me know that these black soldier fly larvae are very important in chicken production, in feed production, and also in fish farming. Also, one of the applications that also got me thinking was that humans could also eat it, and were already eating this in some countries. So I immediately had to go back to the compost pile, and I had to tie it so that the house flies would not come there and also drop their eggs, because you don't want house flies to come there. They can make things a really bit messy, and if housefly could come to this compost pile, their cycle will complete in less than 2 days, but the black soldier fly could stay there for a very long time. In about 6 months, the top of the compost was already changing its look like that of a soil. I had to open up this to know what was really going up in there, so I wanted to know if the compost had cured completely. When I then opened the compost, I then found out that the compost was already having some kind of greener color inside, meaning that those things had already decayed, but they had not yet been decayed completely. At this time, there was no more black soldier fly larvae in there. Everything was just getting turned into soil. As the compost was already getting ready, so I began to brainstorm on what I was going to use this to grow in my garden. I then decided that I was going to use it to grow Irish potatoes, but it was not just ready enough to start up the Irish potatoes, so I will give it a long time for it to cure perfectly and able to give us that shining consistency that we need for compost. Composting is a very important integral practice in gardening, especially if you have chosen not to use GMOs, inorganic fertilizer, urea, ammonium sulfate, and other kinds of inorganic fertilizer. Composting is the ideal matter for you. So you need to carry out composting on your kitchen scraps, and this may work just perfectly for you. After a while of preparing compost, I finally ended up with a good result. Now you want to see the soil that my compost was able to produce. It's quite different from the normal soil that you see in my garden. Now I call this a mega super nutrient rich soil, because this kind of soil, anything that I grow with it will always flourish perfect, and its origin will date back to the kitchen waste and scraps that you all produce in your kitchen. So with no waste of time, I treated some potatoes and I planted them, and they have already started sprouting, and I would like you guys to come back for updates on that. I also put some of the organic soil on my turmeric, and they are also doing perfectly well, and I also had some that I'm going to start off some seeds in the future, so don't forget to come back for updates.